If you spend your life helping those who refuse to change, you may never find the time to grow yourself. This quote struck me deeply the first time I reflected on it. It felt personal, like a mirror reflecting back my own mistakes. Welcome back to Epiphany Engine, where we explore timeless wisdom to tackle modern challenges. We've all been there, haven't we? Feeling like no matter how much we give, it's just never enough. I thought I was doing the right thing, but instead I was losing myself in the process. Helping others is one of the most fulfilling things we can do, but sometimes it becomes one of the most draining. What if your help isn't helping? What if it's holding them back? Or worse, holding you back? In this video, we'll uncover 8 types of people who, no matter how much effort you put in, simply can't be helped. Not only will you learn to recognize these 8 types, but you'll also discover how to transform your energy into meaningful action. Stick with me until the end, because I'll share a bonus insight that will completely transform the way you think about helping others. Before we dive in, join the Epiphany Engine community, a space where ancient wisdom meets modern challenges. Click subscribe and become part of this journey toward mastering the art of meaningful living. Together, we'll uncover wisdom that protects your time and energy. Let's begin. The self-deceived. Imagine someone who's built their own reality, a world where the sky is green and everyone else is wrong for saying it's blue. These are the self-deceived. They aren't malicious, but their distorted view of the world acts like a barrier, preventing them from seeing the truth. Stoicism teaches us that clarity begins with accepting reality as it is, not as we want it to be. But for the self-deceived, this clarity feels almost impossible to achieve. Self-deception often starts as a defense mechanism. Maybe they experienced rejection or trauma in the past, and creating their own version of reality helped them cope. Over time, though, this alternative reality becomes their truth, and they stop questioning it. For example, a friend might believe their failures are always someone else's fault. They've convinced themselves that the world is out to get them, rather than admitting their own mistakes. And because they see life through this distorted lens, they can't grow. Stoicism highlights that our mind is not a reliable narrator. It interprets the world, but it doesn't always interpret it correctly. That's why self-awareness is the foundation for change. Without it, people like this remain trapped in their illusions. Think about a coworker who always blames bad luck for missing deadlines, or a relative who insists their relationship problems are entirely the other person's fault. You might feel tempted to step in and help them see the bigger picture. But no matter how many facts or logical arguments you present, they reject it. It's like pointing at the sky and saying, "Look, it's blue," while they insist, "No, it's green." Their resistance isn't stubbornness. It's their defense mechanism kicking in. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's the good news. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to fix their reality. Trying to change their mind is like shouting into the wind. It feels futile because they're not ready to hear it. So, how do you deal with the self-deceived? The truth is, you can't force clarity on someone who isn't ready for it. They need to reach a point where they're willing to confront their illusions. What you can do is protect your energy. Don't waste time trying to convince them of the truth. Instead, focus on what's within your control, your own clarity, your own growth. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Remember, their reality doesn't have to become yours. By staying grounded in your own truth, you preserve your strength and peace of mind. And while some people are trapped in their illusions, others consciously manipulate situations for their benefit. Let's uncover the next challenge. The opportunist. Have you ever met someone who always seems to take more than they give? Someone who thrives on your generosity but offers nothing in return? These are the opportunists. Stoicism values fairness, mutual respect, and genuine connection. But opportunists see relationships as transactions. To them, your kindness is just a tool to exploit, not a virtue to appreciate. Opportunists often come across as charming and friendly at first. They know how to identify kind-hearted individuals and use emotional appeals to draw them in. For example, they might say, "You're such a great friend. Can you help me out just this once?" But once turns into twice, then 3 times, and before you know it, you're constantly helping them while they give nothing back. It's not that they're incapable of doing things on their own. They choose not to because they've learned that someone else will always step in for them. This creates an unhealthy cycle where they benefit and you bear the burden. Stoicism teaches us to value reciprocity and balance. Relationships should uplift both sides, not leave one drained. Think about a colleague who always asks you to cover for them but never returns the favor, or a friend who constantly borrows money but never repays it. At first, you might feel sympathetic. Maybe they're going through a tough time. But as the pattern continues, it becomes clear. They aren't looking for support. They're looking for a free ride. Helping an opportunist feels like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. It all drains away, leaving you empty. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. How do you handle an opportunist? The key is setting boundaries. Instead of always saying yes, practice saying no. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But by protecting your time and energy, you prevent opportunists from taking advantage of you. And remember, helping someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. True kindness involves knowing when to step back. By protecting your energy, you not only shield yourself, but also create space for people who truly value your support. And while opportunists exploit kindness, others take self-centeredness to an entirely different level. Let's explore the next challenge. The self-centered. Picture someone who always brings the conversation back to themselves. No matter what you're going through, their experiences, their opinions, and their feelings always take center stage. These are the self-centered individuals. Stoicism teaches us to look beyond ourselves, to empathize with others, and to recognize that the world does not revolve around us. But for the self-centered, these lessons often go unheard. Self-centered people don't necessarily intend to hurt others, but their inability to see past their own needs and desires creates challenges in relationships. For example, you might share exciting news, like getting a promotion, only for them to respond with their own frustrations about their job. Instead of celebrating your success, they overshadow it with their complaints. This behavior often stems from insecurity. By keeping the focus on themselves, they seek validation and attention. However, this constant need for reassurance can drain those around them, leaving little room for genuine connection. In Stoicism, humility and perspective are key. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have to get used to the idea that others will act according to their own nature, not yours. Understanding this truth helps us navigate interactions with self-centered individuals. Think of a friend who always turns every conversation into a monologue about their life, or a family member who dismisses your struggles as unimportant because they believe theirs are worse. You might find yourself trying to steer the conversation back to balance, but it feels like a losing battle. Their self-centeredness acts like a gravitational pull, dragging every interaction into their orbit. It's like talking to someone standing in front of a mirror. They see only their reflection, not the person trying to connect with them. Or worse, it's like trying to have a conversation with someone staring at their phone. They're physically present but emotionally distant. So, how do you handle the self-centered? The key lies in managing your expectations. Instead of trying to change them, accept that their perspective may never fully align with yours. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect, it means setting boundaries. As Epictetus teaches us, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it, show by example how to listen, empathize, and share the spotlight in conversations. When you prioritize your own emotional well-being and choose not to engage in their self-centeredness, you reclaim control over your energy and maintain your inner peace. By staying grounded in your own values, you create a space for genuine connection, even if they can't meet you halfway. While the self-centered are absorbed in their own worlds, others avoid responsibility altogether. Let's dive into the next challenge, the irresponsible. We've all met someone who seems to always have an excuse. Their mistakes are never their fault, and when things go wrong, they're quick to point the finger elsewhere. These are the irresponsible individuals. Stoicism values accountability and self-reflection. Without these, growth is impossible. For the irresponsible, however, acknowledging their role in their struggles feels like an attack, not an opportunity. Irresponsible people refuse to take ownership of their actions. Whether it's a missed deadline, a failed relationship, or a messy living space, they always find a way to shift the blame. For instance, if they're late for work, it's because traffic was bad, not because they didn't leave on time. If they fail a project, it's because their team didn't pull their weight, not because they didn't contribute enough. This avoidance of accountability often stems from fear of failure, judgment, or facing their own shortcomings. But by refusing to own their actions, they remain stuck in a cycle of stagnation. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from taking responsibility. As Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Admitting our faults isn't weakness, it's strength. Think of a friend who constantly blames others for their problems. Maybe they complain about their lack of career success, but never take the steps to improve their skills. Or they blame their financial troubles on bad luck, ignoring their spending habits. Trying to help someone like this feels like running on a treadmill. No matter how much advice or support you offer, they stay in the same place, convinced the world is against them. It's like trying to steer a ship with no rudder. Their lack of direction makes progress impossible. Or worse, it's like trying to plant a tree in sand. Without solid ground, it simply can't grow. How do you handle the irresponsible? The first step is recognizing that you can't force someone to take accountability. They need to reach that point on their own. What you can do is lead by example. Show them what accountability looks like through your actions. When they see you owning your mistakes and learning from them, they might feel inspired to do the same. Remember Marcus Aurelius' wisdom. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Set boundaries to protect your energy and don't let their lack of responsibility drag you down. By focusing on your own accountability, you create a ripple effect that inspires others to take charge of their lives. While the irresponsible avoid accountability, others focus solely on the negatives in life. Let's uncover the next challenge. The negative. Imagine someone who always focuses on the worst-case scenario. No matter how bright the situation, they'll find the one cloud in the sky and point it out. These are the negative individuals. Stoicism teaches us the importance of resilience, gratitude, and balance. But for the negative, the good in life often goes unnoticed, overshadowed by their focus on what's wrong. Negative people often view life through a lens of fear, disappointment, or frustration. This perspective can be rooted in past experiences, where they learn to expect the worst as a defense mechanism. While some negativity is natural, after all, life isn't perfect, these individuals take it to an extreme. They're unable to appreciate life's beauty because they're too consumed by its imperfections. For example, you might share an exciting opportunity, and their immediate response is to highlight all the potential risks. Their mindset can be contagious, pulling those around them into their spiral of pessimism. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. For the negative, Their suffering is magnified by their constant focus on imagined problems. Think of a colleague who complains about every workplace policy, no matter how beneficial, or a friend who criticizes every vacation spot you suggest, pointing out why it won't be enjoyable. Trying to uplift a negative person feels like trying to brighten a room with no windows. No matter how much light you bring, their focus remains on the darkness. It's like filling a glass with water, only for them to insist it's half empty, never seeing that it's also half full. Trying to uplift them is like pouring sunlight into a black hole. It gets swallowed whole, leaving you drained. How do you handle the negative? The key is setting emotional boundaries. When engaging with someone negative, it's important not to let their perspective overshadow your own. Remind yourself of what you're grateful for, and don't be afraid to redirect the conversation toward more positive topics. As Marcus Aurelius advises, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By maintaining a mindset of gratitude and resilience, you not only protect your peace, but also model a healthier perspective. This doesn't mean you have to avoid them entirely, but it's essential to limit their influence over your thoughts. By choosing gratitude, you become the light that outshines their darkness. If you've ever had to deal with someone like this, share how you stayed resilient in the comments. I'd love to hear your strategies. While the negative drain energy with their pessimism, others carry a sense of entitlement that makes every interaction a challenge. Let's reveal the next type, the entitled. Have you ever encountered someone who believes the world owes them something just for existing? They demand privileges without effort and expect others to bend over backward to meet their expectations. These are the entitled individuals. Stoicism emphasizes humility and the understanding that nothing in life is guaranteed. For the entitled, however, their sense of superiority blinds them to this truth. Entitled people often operate under the belief that their needs, opinions, or desires are more important than anyone else's. They expect special treatment, often without reciprocating or earning it. For example, they might demand constant attention from friends, but disappear when someone else needs support. Or they might complain about a job, feeling they deserve a higher position despite putting in minimal effort. This mindset often stems from insecurity or unrealistic expectations shaped by past experiences. Perhaps they were overly praised as children or shielded from challenges, leading them to believe that life should always cater to them. Stoicism reminds us that worth is determined by merit and character, not by entitlement. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Think of a coworker who insists they should get a promotion, despite showing little initiative. Or a friend who expects you to rearrange your schedule to accommodate their plans, but never returns the favor. Engaging with entitled people can feel like navigating a minefield. Their high expectations and lack of gratitude often lead to tension and frustration. It's like trying to fill a leaking balloon. The more effort you put in, the more it deflates, leaving you exhausted. So, how do you handle the entitled? The first step is setting clear boundaries. Don't feel pressured to meet their demands, especially when they're unreasonable. As Epictetus teaches, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Apply this principle to your interactions. Focus on mutual respect rather than feeding their inflated expectations. By calmly standing your ground, you teach them that entitlement isn't rewarded. And remember, entitlement is their burden, not yours to carry. Protect your energy and prioritize relationships that are built on mutual understanding. If you've encountered someone like this, reflect on how you've handled it. What strategies worked for you? Let us know in the comments. While the entitled demand everything, others push people away by refusing to see their own faults. Let's uncover the next challenge. The blame shifter. Have you ever met someone who refuses to take responsibility for their actions? When things go wrong, it's never their fault. It's always someone or something else to blame. These are the blame shifters. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of personal accountability. But for blame shifters, taking responsibility feels like admitting defeat, and they'll do anything to avoid it. Blame shifters are quick to point fingers and slow to reflect on their own role in a situation. This behavior often stems from insecurity or fear of judgment. For example, if they fail a test, they might blame the teacher or the material, rather than admitting they didn't study enough. If a project at work falls apart, they'll point to their team's shortcomings, conveniently ignoring their own mistakes. This pattern creates a toxic dynamic where they avoid growth and accountability, leaving others to clean up their messes. Stoicism reminds us that growth comes from within. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Think of a friend who constantly blames their bad luck for their failures, never considering how their choices played a role. Or a coworker who shifts responsibility for missed deadlines to you, even though they didn't contribute their share. Engaging with blame shifters feels like playing a never-ending game of tag. No matter what you do, the blame always lands on you. It's like trying to build a sandcastle with someone who keeps knocking it over, then insists the waves are to blame. How do you handle blame shifters? The key is to hold them accountable without letting their behavior affect your peace of mind. Start by calmly pointing out the facts. Avoid emotional arguments and stick to objective observations. For instance, instead of saying, "You always blame me," try, "This is what I observed. Can we discuss how to prevent it next time?" As Epictetus advises, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By remaining composed, you take control of the situation without getting drawn into their deflections. Set boundaries to protect your energy, and remember, you can't force someone to take responsibility. Your role is to uphold your values, not fix their flaws. If you've encountered someone like this, how did you manage to navigate the situation? Share your strategies in the comments. While blame shifters refuse to own their actions, others live in a world of constant illusion. Let's explore the final challenge, the illusory. Have you ever met someone who lives in a bubble, completely disconnected from reality? They create their own version of the world and cling to it, refusing to accept anything that challenges their perspective. These are the illusory individuals. Stoicism emphasizes clarity and living in harmony with reality. But for the illusory, facing the truth feels too daunting, so they retreat into their constructed world. Illusory people often build these false realities as a defense mechanism, shielding themselves from past pain or fear. While this might provide temporary comfort, it keeps them trapped, unable to grow or confront their challenges. For example, they might believe that their lack of success is due to an unfair system, rather than acknowledging areas they could improve. Or they might insist that a relationship is perfect, ignoring clear signs of dysfunction. This mindset not only isolates them but also frustrates those who care about them. Stoicism reminds us that facing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is the first step to freedom. As Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Think of a friend who refuses to acknowledge their unhealthy habits, insisting they're fine even when the evidence suggests otherwise. Or a coworker who blames office politics for their lack of progress, ignoring their poor work performance. Engaging with illusory people feels like trying to wake someone from a dream. They resist, clinging to their version of reality. It's like pointing out a crack in a dam, only for them to paint over it and insist everything is fine, even as the water starts leaking through. How do you handle the illusory? The first step is accepting that you can't force them to see the truth. Change has to come from within. What you can do is remain patient and grounded. Show them the benefits of facing reality by embodying clarity and resilience in your own life. As Marcus Aurelius teaches, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By protecting your peace and maintaining clear boundaries, you set an example of what living in harmony with reality looks like. And when they're ready to wake from their illusions, your steadiness might be the guiding light they need. Have you encountered someone like this? How did you navigate the situation? Share your perspective in the comments. I'd love to hear your insights. Now that we've uncovered the 8 types of people you can't help, let's talk about the most powerful strategy Stoicism offers to protect your peace in any situation. Stick around for this life-changing tip. Bonus tip: the transformative Stoic principle. Now that we've explored the 8 types of people you can't help, let's shift our focus. What if there were a way to completely transform how you think about helping others? A strategy that not only protects your peace, but also ensures your efforts are meaningful. Let's dive into this life-changing Stoic principle. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. At the heart of this philosophy is the understanding that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Epictetus said, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." This means recognizing that your responsibility ends where another person's willingness begins. You can offer guidance, share your wisdom, and lead by example, but the choice to act lies entirely with them. Imagine holding out a rope to someone drowning. You can extend the lifeline, but they must grab hold of it. If they refuse, it's not your failure, it's their choice. So how can you apply this principle? The key is learning to distinguish between effort and outcome. Your effort offering help, showing compassion, and leading by example is within your control. The outcome, their response, their growth, their choices, is not. When you internalize this mindset, you free yourself from the frustration of unmet expectations. You realize that your worth isn't tied to someone else's progress, but to the integrity of your own actions. For example, if a friend constantly ignores your advice, you can stop feeling obligated to fix their problems. Instead, focus on supporting them in ways that align with your own peace and boundaries. Here's a simple exercise to help solidify this mindset. 1. Think of a situation where you felt frustrated trying to help someone. 2. Ask yourself, what was within my control and what wasn't? 3. Reflect on how you can redirect your energy toward actions and relationships that value your efforts. This practice doesn't just protect your peace. It also makes your help more effective by ensuring it's directed at those ready to receive it. By embracing this Stoic principle, you transform the way you approach helping others. You stop seeing their lack of progress as a reflection of your efforts and start recognizing it as a natural part of their journey. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. If this principle resonates with you, let me know in the comments how you plan to apply it in your life. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you've enjoyed this journey into Stoicism, consider subscribing to Epiphany Engine, where ancient wisdom meets modern challenges. Together, let's grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Thank you for watching and being part of this incredible community. Your support means everything. Don't forget to like the video if it brought you value and share it with someone who might need this wisdom. See you in the next video.